So let's explore what's inside your kit for this month. So you will have your card base. You have this piece. She stamped this for you separately so that you will not be confused. We're going to color this first. Then we're going to cut it out and we'll put it on top of there, effectively creating a mask that we've colored and will cover up all of these little extras. So we still get all the individual pieces of the stamp without Theresa having had to mask it all off for us hundreds of times. Masked for this one, masked for this one. This is a brilliant idea because I, for one, get very frustrated with the idea of masking. We're going to start by coloring this, cutting it out, and then gluing it onto our, not the card base, and put it on here. Today, instead of using my Copics, I'm going to use my Prismacolor Premier pencils. So I'm going to try to mimic what Theresa did. Her flower was very beautiful, and she has a couple of different ones here. We have a soft pink, we have a very bright pink, and then we have the model card was a very peachy pink. The spotlight area, let's review back onto Theresa's cards, is the parts of the card that are colored and then surrounded by the black and white area. So it really spotlights that particular area of the card. As you can see on this one, Theresa used a shaped die. On this one, it may have been a shaped die. I'm not sure if it was or not because this is a square. There's not stitching on it. And this one is, or a rectangle actually. This one is a rectangle as well. So this one very easily could have been cut out just by using a ruler or a rectangular die or a rectangular piece of paper and just laying it on the front of your colored portion that you've done and cut out. And as you can see, this one, she let the flower hang over the edge just slightly. Do you see how that flower hangs over that edge? Really pretty. That adds a really nice touch. So you can do that if you want. Now, I personally colored my flowers, glued them down to this, and then I'm going to cut this out as one piece. So I have decided that I'm going to use die cuts. I've got this. I took and stamped my sentiment at the bottom of both of my pieces here. And then I just want to make sure that whenever I cut this out, I've lined it up on here first so that I make sure that I don't cut out too far down, because if I do that, I'm just going to cover up part of my sentiment. So I use my card base and I say, I really like this. I know I've got my entire flower portion in there, but I still have nice areas that are popped out that are not going to be colored. And by doing so, I can move this around, up, down, around, and decide where I want it. Then I can visualize on my colored piece where this ends, so I can see that I have a little bit of this colored flower here. It's going to end right about the top of this leaf and right on the edge of this leaf. So that makes it very easy for me to line it up. Edge of that leaf, top of that leaf. And then I know anything outside of this is going to show up as black and white because it's not colored. I can line up exactly where I want it to be. I see that it's close to the bottom of this flower, and just the very edge of that little blue flower is going to show. So I know this is where I want this one cut out. Now, you can use any shape. This one has wonky stitches on it, and that would be really pretty, especially to do it kind of like Theresa did at an angle like this. All I want to do is make sure that I don't cover up any of my particular sentiment. If I wanted to do rectangular, excuse me, you could also do heart-shaped. And I think that would be beautiful as well. Then I would just line it up. I can see that just the edges of those flowers are poking out, and I've got this flower inside, and I'd line it up. And I know that I am well within the area of what I don't want covering my thankful. Now, the reason I chose not to do a heart and to do a circle is because I wanted a little bit larger of a spotlight area, and I felt like that heart just kind of cut out too much of what I spent a long time coloring, and I enjoyed coloring. So I like it here. I'm going to line it up the same way that I told you before. Now, the really important thing to do here is we don't want this to move when we take it to our die cut machine. So we definitely get a piece of tape, like this low tack purple tape. And I would be careful and not put it on the parts that I've already colored, but perhaps put it out to the edge. Then I'll run this through my die cut machine, and then I'm ready to go. I'm going to do the same thing with this one as well. I'm going to put my purple tape on it. I'm going to run it through my die cut machine, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I've cut these out, with my die cut machine. And once again, you could use a template and a pencil and cut this out with scissors, or your string trimmer or guillotine trimmer, however you want to do it. I just chose to do it with die cuts. And now we want to line this up so that the parts that are colored perfectly line up with the part that's not colored. And this might take just a minute or two to really get it exactly how you want it. It's like putting a puzzle together in a way. So there you go. You can see how the spotlight card spotlights that area. Now, Theresa was really sweet, and she included for everyone some of these pop-up dots so that you can pop up your spotlight area and give it even more of a pop-up or spotlighted effect. So now that we kind of know how we want it to line up, let's turn it over and put some dots on it. Now my spotlight area is pretty big, so I'm going to put quite a few on there. If you decided to make a smaller spotlight area, you don't have to put quite as many. But this circle especially is kind of a big spotlight area, so I'm glad that Theresa gave us lots of these little dots to choose from to really pop up our spotlight area. And I'm a little bit of a cheapskate, and I often will use the outside edges too. I don't just use the circular areas of the pop-up because, I mean, nobody's going to see the back of your card anyway. Then we definitely want some in the middle to keep it nice and popped up as well. And I will save this and use this if I need something. You know, I could have used this right in the middle and put all these toward the edge. Now, before I really stick it down, I want to make sure that it's exactly where I want it, that everything is lined up on my card. It looks pretty close right there. And stick it down, and as you can see, we get this nice little shadow of our edge. And then there's room on the inside to write, and you can color this inside, or you can leave it black and white to highlight the black and white area of your spotlight card. Now let's stick this card down, and then we're going to move on to the spattering. So spattering comes next. And in fact, you might want to wait and put your jewels on after you spatter, but it's up to you if you want the spatter on top of those jewels, or if you don't, then wait to put them on. So I'm going to clean up my little area here. I'm going to stick this down, and then we're going to come back and we're going to spatter. So this is a good time for you to grab your, if you have one of these, what is it called? A nonstick craft sheet. Mine is by Ranger, and I've had this sucker for years and years and years and years, and I just keep it in the box and rolled up, and when I need it, I pull it out. I think the oven mats that you get are really good for this as well. Look, it doesn't even want to come out. But once I get this stuck down, we're going to roll out this mat, and you can use wax paper, you can use freezer paper. You just kind of want to cover up your area because we are going to make a mess here in just a minute. Okay, so now we have our cards put together. These are adhered and in place. The next thing we want to do is our spatter. This beautiful golden spatter. In your kit, you received a toothbrush, one of these inexpensive toothbrushes, and one of these pipettes that has some gold paint down in the bottom of it. Now, in the bottom of that is this metallic gold paint, folk art. These come in really small canisters too, like This is 8 ounces. It's probably 1 ounce, maybe 2. Not very expensive, but if you get a nice metallic, we did this one and we did it about half and half with water so that it's not too blurby. Because as you know, acrylic paint can be pretty thick. See how thick that is? That is way too thick to spatter and expect it to look good. So we're going to mix it with about the same amount of water as paint. We melted the end of the pipette, so all you'll have to do is cut it with your scissors and then dump this into your paper plate or onto your craft mat or whatever you want to use to do your spattering. And these toothbrushes, especially these really inexpensive ones with kind of hard bristles, are a great spatter brush. And you can use the end of it to mix your paint. I have had this spatter brush for years. It's from Kemper Set. And this saves your finger from having to get dirty because you can dip this into your paint. And then do this. And it spatters for you. If you have a small round paintbrush, now this is a nice watercolor paintbrush. It just happens to be the one that I could find. But very inexpensive craft paintbrushes work fine too. And they work like this. So let's get some white, plain white paper and show you the 3 different patterns you're going to get with the 3 different splattering methods. First one we're going to do is the paintbrush. Dip your paintbrush in. You don't want it sopping. Tap it on your finger. Ooh. Look, sopping gives you big splatters. So there's paintbrush. Toothbrush. I personally think that the toothbrush gives you much better control over your spatter, which is why we tried to find you guys good toothbrush for that. And if you have one at home, just wash this one out and use it again and again and again. But if you have a cheap toothbrush at home that has kind of stiffish bristles, you'll get a nice spatter with that. Now this is the bought to be a spatter brush. And you do get a fairly nice consistent pattern with this. So let's compare. Bought to be a spatter brush, cheap toothbrush, paintbrush. You can see the 3 different spatters. And it really is up to you. And if you don't like spatters, if you're like, hey, that card is beautiful and I just don't want to mess it up, then don't do spatters. Now I'm going to recommend that you put a small piece of paper down if you have been experimenting first, so that the back of your card doesn't get spattered too, unless it's okay with you if the back gets spattered. And I personally like the cheap toothbrush the best. So I'm going to mix it up in my little thing, tap it off. Oh, this is difficult because you know if you get a big plop that you have messed it up. But I don't think it did. I think it's beautiful. I think it adds that special touch. And I'll tell you, on white, sometimes it's really hard to appreciate a spatter. But after this dries, that gold touch, I think it's just a really nice touch. If you don't like it, don't do it. Let's do our other card, because both of these are getting spattered. Tap, 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 tap. And I like lots of spatter. I might even add a few big drops. Ooh, see this giant one? Some of you are saying, oh, she ruined it. She ruined it. There's a giant spot. I actually like it. So we're going to set this over here to dry, and I'm going to show you spatter on dark paper. Here's some gray paper, and I'm going to use the toothbrush so that I get a nice light spatter. And look what a mess my hands are. That's okay. I love to get my hands all messy. Look how beautiful golden spatter can be on dark paper. In my opinion, you've just made yourself beautiful patterned paper. And I'm not even sure that the video does this justice. Look how gorgeous. You want to take silver or white spatter, which, as you can see, just white acrylic paint or silver acrylic paint, and do this on a navy blue. It's a beautiful starry night background. You want to do it on light paper with white. It's a gorgeous snowfall background. So once you've done your spatters, and by the magic of video, I am going to stop the video and clean up. Then we'll come back and we'll put our rhinestones on, and then our card will be done. Okay, I've got my spatter brush cleaned out. I just used water in my sink, and it cleans out really well. I'm going to keep this in my arsenal of tools for whenever I'm crafting. These are nice and dry now. And there's that great big blotch that I know some of you are hating on right now. I did that with the paintbrush. So if you want these nice fine spatters, use your toothbrush. Now, Theresa gave us these awesome little rhinestones, and they are self-adhesive. For me, it's much easier to do this with tweezers and decide where you want them, set them down, press them in place. Ah, that one is gone, gone, gone. It flipped right out of here. That's probably why she gave us extras. Ooh, I saw where that one went. You can also use a craft knife. See how I'm using the edge of that tweezer where it kind of stuck on the tweezer? You can do that too. I like these in little threes. You can also use your scissors to sort of pick them up off the edge. One day I'm going to find that one that flew away. It's just going to be over there somewhere. I'm going to be vacuuming, and here it go, clunk, 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 in the vacuum. And I'm going to use this last one here to put in the middle, just like Theresa did on her beautiful cards. You don't have to put them all down here like I did. Theresa put hers in a couple of different places. She has one down here, one here, one here. And this one all over. Theresa makes some beautiful cards. There, there, and there. You guys should have 5 of them, so you can go to town. Those are the 2 I did. Here, let's do this. For those of you who are really hating on that big blob, now you can't see it. Thanks for joining me for this card, guys, and thank you so much to Theresa for designing this card and putting together these kits for us, and also trying to keep your paint from freezing. I hope your paint did not freeze. So this has been quite a challenging week with all of this weather. I hope that you all have stayed warm and taken good care of yourselves. Our card next month is by Jean Euchre, and you are going to love it. I already know what it looks like, and you guys are going to really, really enjoy that card too. So thanks for letting me consult and helping you make these cards, and happy stamping.